Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're trying to get to the bottom of a question that's, well, it's both fundamental and honestly a little unsettling.
Who am I?
Who am I, really? Not just your job title, not your family role, but beneath all of that, we're going deep into the architecture of the self.
And the first thing we have to do is sort of discard the idea of a unified self. We imagine we stand before a mirror and see one coherent person looking back.
Right, the person we present to the world.
Exactly. But imagine that mirror doesn't just reflect. Imagine it. It listens. And the surface trembles. It starts to show you fragments.
So not the curated self, the one who's always got it together.
No, not at all. You might see a piece of a child's wide, desperate eyes, and in another corner, maybe a stranger's jaw, just clenched in fear. We're diving into that underworld, and it's not a dusty attic. It's a living, breathing place where desire and fear and fantasy are just constantly colliding.
Okay, so that's a huge first idea to unpack.
Yeah.
The self, the I or the itch, isn't the master of its own house.
Not even close. It's not really the author of its own story either. It's described as more of a fragile coalition, a truce that's been built out of conflict.
And that conflict starts incredibly early.
It's born from a rupture, really. Picture a small child. They hear, laughter or murmurs from behind a closed door. Intimacy.
And they feel excluded.
Overwhelmingly so. There's this raw, primal wanting to be a part of it, to possess it. But at that same moment, they run up against a wall, a prohibition, the realization that they can't have everything they desire.
So you have pure desire on one side.
And the great must not on the other. And our entire adult self is basically built in the negotiation between those two forces.
Which brings us to the structure of it all.
Mm-hmm.
The core insight here is that the psyche is a battlefield, and our conscious self, our I, is this exhausted diplomat running between three relentless factions.
Right. The id, the superego, and the ego. Let's start with the most primitive one, the id, the volcano. Yes, that's a good way to put it. It's this reservoir of all our primal drives, our libido.
Yep.
It operates completely outside of time or logic or morality.
It's just pure pleasure principle. It wants what it wants now. It's that part of you that sees an injustice and wants, immediate biblical retribution.
Its only demand is more now, forever. Yeah. And crucially, the id doesn't see a difference between fantasy and reality. For the id, just imagining something is almost as good as having it.
Which is why loss is so catastrophic for that part of us.
Exactly. Now, on the complete opposite end, you have the superego, the uber-ich. If the id is chaotic wanting, the superego is tyrannical judgment.
The inner critic.
Yeah.
But it's more than that, isn't it? It's not just a gentle conscience.
Oh, it's ruthless. It's the internalized tribunal, that harsh voice that's always saying, you should have known better, you must not fail, you are at your core unworthy. It is just relentlessly cruel.
And what's so striking is where that voice comes from. It's not just society, it's born out of our earliest relationships, right?
Right.
With parents or caregivers whose love felt conditional.
Absolutely. The child internalizes their rules, their disappointments as a way to keep that love. The thinking is, if I can just be perfect, then they can't abandon me. And that voice often becomes much, much harsher than the original parent ever was.
And the ego is caught right in the middle of this.
The poor ego, it's the I we experience every day. It has this impossible mission: keep the id's drive satisfied enough, avoid the superego's shame attacks, and also navigate the real world with all its limits.
It has to delay gratification.
Oh.
It has to operate on the reality principle.
And its entire structure is built on loss, the loss of that infant fantasy that the world revolves around you.
That moment you realize your mother is a separate person, not just an extension of your own will. That must be terrifying for a child.
It's a profound disillusionment, and it forces the ego to start building defenses. And the absolute cornerstone of all of those defenses is repression.
Okay, so let's shift to that. How does this battle actually show up in our adult lives? Repression.
Yeah.
It's not just forgetting something, is it?
No, not at all. It's an active psychic veto. A forbidden wish, an unbearable feeling like rage at your boss, or the desire to just run away from your life. The ego says, nope, intolerable, and it shoves it out of consciousness.
But the energy behind that feeling doesn't just disappear.
It can't. The emotional charge, the affect gets pushed down, but it's still alive, and now it's disconnected from its original source. So that raw energy has to go somewhere. It attaches itself to something that seems totally neutral.
And that's where the symptom comes from.
Yeah.
The symptom isn't the illness, it's the disguise.
It is the return of the repressed in disguise. It's the message your mind refused to speak, now being shouted by your body or your behavior.
I mean, that changes how you look at so many things. A panic attack, for example. It's not random. It's the body screaming something the mind wouldn't let itself think.
Like, I am not safe here.
Right, or a compulsion, like someone who cleans constantly. It's not really about the dirt.
It's about trying to scrub away some kind of unconscious guilt that the superego is hammering you with.
Even in our dreams, that dream of being chased.
Yeah.
It's not just a random scary movie.
It could be a forbidden desire that's pursuing you because you refuse to look at it when you're awake.
So to keep this fragile peace, the ego has this whole toolkit of defenses.
A whole array of them, and we use them every single day. Let's start with projection.
Okay.
This is when you take a feeling you have, one that's totally unacceptable to you and you.
Yep.
You see it in someone else. You can't admit how angry or competitive you feel, so you look at your coworker and think, wow, he's so hostile.
It's out there, not in here. I see that online all the time.
All the time. Then there's reaction formation. This one is almost theatrical.
How so?
If you feel a forbidden attraction to someone, something your superego absolutely condemns, you might act with this exaggerated opposite behavior. You'll say, I can't stand her. Everything she does irritates me.
When really your unconscious is just completely preoccupied with them.
Precisely. And then there's a really common one, displacement. The classic rerouting of emotion.
Kicking the dog because you're mad at your boss.
That's the one. You can't rage at your boss. You'd get fired. So that raw anger has to go somewhere. It gets displaced. You come home and have a massive, disproportionate fight with your partner about, I don't know, the way they loaded the dishwasher.
And it feels so real in the moment, but the energy is coming from somewhere else entirely.
The ego found a safer target to release the pressure.
Which leads to maybe the most confusing part of all this. Repetition. If we had these experiences, why do we keep walking right back into the same painful scripts, choosing the same unavailable partner, sabotaging ourselves right before a big success?
The repetition compulsion. And it's tragic, really. The unconscious isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to master the original trauma.
It's a reenactment.
It's a reenactment. You run the old script again and again, subconsciously hoping that this time you can change the ending. That this time, with your adult skills, you can finally fix that original helpless feeling.
But without awareness, the script just plays out the same way.
The partner withdraws again, the success gets sabotaged again, and that original feeling of abandonment or failure is just confirmed.
And when we try to get close to these truths, we hit a wall. Resistance.
Resistance is the ego's last line of defense. It's the psychic alarm bell screaming, do not go there. It's too dangerous.
And how does that show up? Is it obvious?
Almost never. It's the sudden urge to check your phone when a conversation gets too real. It's the reflexive I'm fine when you're actually crumbling. It's the sudden sleepiness you feel when you try to sit and think about something difficult. Your whole system conspires to keep that old wound buried.
So the only way through is to face that resistance. And that often happens through something called transference, which, you're right, it's often called the golden opportunity.
Transference is just the unconscious revival of those old relationship patterns onto someone in your present. A boss's silence doesn't just feel like a boss being quiet. It feels exactly like the abandonment you felt as a child.
It's not a memory. It's a living experience happening right now.
You are feeling the same shame, the same longing as vividly as you did back then. And because happening in the present, maybe with someone who can witness it without judgment, you finally have a chance to see it for what it is. An echo of the past.
Yeah.
And you can finally mourn that original loss.
And that's the core connection then. At the heart of every symptom, every repeated pattern is an unmourned loss.
Yes. Maybe not the loss of a person. It could be the loss of a part of yourself. The part that learned its desires were shameful, or that its true self wasn't good enough to be loved.
No. Okay. If the goal isn't to fix ourselves, if we can't just get rid of the I God or silence the superego, what is the work? What's the practice of integration?
It starts with recognition, not forgiveness, not a quick fix, just witnessing. Witnessing that small, desperate part of you that learned that love was conditional. You stop running from it. You just sit with it.
But that's so hard because the superego fights back, right? How do you tell the difference between its harsh voice and, healthy self-discipline?
That's the great deception. The superego whispers things that sound like wisdom. You're just indulging yourself. Real strength is just moving on. But that's the old wound trying to maintain control. Real discipline is rooted in care. The superego's voice always has that sting of self-hatred behind it.
So the goal isn't to win the war inside.
The goal is for the ego to learn how to live with the tension, to hold the contradictory demands of the id and the superego without being destroyed by them.
And when you get that awareness, the symptom starts to change.
It starts to speak in your voice. It's not a tyrannical force anymore. It becomes a signal.
So that tightness in your chest is no longer a random panic attack. It's a message.
A message saying, slow down, you're overwhelmed. That need to control everything isn't a character flaw, it's a plea for safety.
And that transformation leads to, I guess, becoming more fully yourself.
That
messy, contradictory self.
The self that dares to say, I want, I hurt, I don't know, and I'm trying.
Which means the work is never really finished.
No. This kind of work doesn't offer closure. It offers opening. The more you uncover, the more you realize how vast the unconscious is. You don't become the hero who conquers their inner demons.
You become its poet.
Exactly. The inner world isn't a problem to be solved, it's a mystery to be lived. And if you can learn to listen, really listen, you might start to hear the whisper of your own depth, inviting you to be who you actually are.
So as you go through your week and you feel those inner tensions rise, we want to leave you with the final thought to hold on to.
What have I been defending myself against, and what might I become if I stopped?